Every great empire in human history believed it was different. They believed they were smarter than those who came before them, more advanced, more powerful, more permanent, and yet, every single one of them was wrong. Because civilizations rarely collapse suddenly. They rarely fall because of a single disaster or invasion. Instead, they follow a slow, predictable pattern. A pattern deeply connected to money, debt, and human behavior. At the peak of every empire, prosperity feels endless. Trade expands, wealth grows, innovation accelerates, cities become larger, richer, and more complex. Money flows easily, credit becomes accessible, debt feels safe. Leaders believe growth will continue forever. Citizens begin to assume stability is permanent. And history shows us that this moment is usually the beginning of the decline. To understand this pattern, we need to travel back nearly 2,000 years. To one of the most powerful civilizations the world has ever seen. Ancient Rome. At its peak, the Roman Empire controlled vast territories stretching across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Rome built roads that connected continents. It created trade networks that allowed goods to travel thousands of miles. Its engineering achievements shaped cities for centuries. Its economy became the most advanced system the ancient world had ever known. But Rome faced a growing problem. Maintaining such a massive empire was incredibly expensive. The Roman military required enormous funding. Infrastructure demanded constant maintenance. Government administration expanded rapidly, and as expansion slowed, Rome's ability to capture new wealth began to shrink. Instead of reducing spending, Roman leaders chose a solution that seemed easier and less visible. They began to manipulate their currency. Roman coins were originally made from nearly pure silver. They represented real, measurable value. Over time, emperors quietly reduced the silver content of these coins. They mixed cheaper metals into the currency while keeping the same appearance. To the public, nothing seemed to change. The coins looked identical, their official value remained the same. But reality began to shift beneath the surface. Purchasing power started to decline. Prices slowly increased. Savings began to lose value. Trust in money weakened. This process is known today as inflation. And it was not accidental. It was a political decision designed to temporarily solve financial pressure. At first, the strategy worked. The government could spend more money without raising taxes. The empire appeared stable. But inflation creates consequences that grow over time. Roman soldiers demanded higher wages to maintain their living standards. Merchants raised prices to compensate for currency devaluation. Economic inequality widened. The Roman economy did not collapse overnight. Instead, it slowly hollowed out from within. By the time political collapse became visible, financial stability had already disappeared decades earlier. Centuries later, another empire repeated a remarkably similar mistake. The Spanish Empire of the 16th century discovered enormous quantities of gold and silver in the Americas. The sudden influx of precious metals created unprecedented wealth. For a brief moment, Spain became the most powerful economic force in Europe. Its influence expanded across continents. Its military strength dominated global politics. But instead of investing this wealth into productive industries, innovation, or infrastructure, Spain spent aggressively. Money financed constant wars. It funded extravagant royal lifestyles. It maintained a vast and expensive imperial system. The result was a massive wave of inflation across Europe. Prices increased dramatically. Domestic industries weakened because imported wealth replaced internal productivity. Spain gained extraordinary short-term power, but it sacrificed long-term economic stability. More money entered the system, but real wealth declined. Centuries later, the British Empire rose to global dominance. At its peak, Britain controlled international trade routes, financial systems, and industrial production. London became the financial capital of the world. The British pound functioned as the global reserve currency. Yet maintaining global dominance required continuous expansion and military engagement. It required enormous financial resources. After two devastating world wars, Britain emerged victorious. But victory came at a severe economic cost. Government debt surged, industrial dominance weakened, global financial leadership gradually shifted to new rising powers. Unlike dramatic historical collapses, Britain's decline occurred quietly. Influence transferred slowly. Economic leadership migrated across oceans. Now we reach the uncomfortable reality of our own time. Modern global economies follow the same fundamental cycle. At the peak of economic expansion, borrowing becomes normalized. Interest rates remain low. Asset prices rise rapidly. Confidence dominates public thinking. Governments borrow to stimulate growth. Corporations borrow to expand operations. Consumers borrow to maintain lifestyles. The entire financial system begins to rely on continuous expansion. Historian and investor Dalio analyzed the rise and fall of major empires over 5 centuries. His research revealed a consistent pattern. Empires rise through productivity, technological innovation, and strong financial discipline. They decline when debt expands faster than productivity, when money creation replaces real growth, and when inequality begins to destabilize society. The pattern repeats across geography, culture, and technology. Today, the form of money has changed dramatically. Ancient rulers reduced silver content in coins. Modern governments create money digitally through financial systems and central banks. Ancient empires expanded territory through military conquest. Modern nations expand influence through currency strength, global trade networks, and financial leverage. The tools have evolved, the cycle has not. Inflation rarely begins as a visible crisis. It starts as a manageable inconvenience. Prices rise slowly, savings lose value gradually, financial discipline weakens quietly. The greatest danger is not immediate collapse. The greatest danger is normalization. When societies begin accepting constant price increases as natural. When debt becomes permanent rather than temporary. When economic caution disappears. History suggests that this moment often marks the transition from expansion to decline. But history is not simply a warning. It is also a guide. Empires eventually fall. Individuals are not required to follow them. People who understand financial cycles behave differently. They diversify assets. They plan long-term rather than chasing short-term trends. They remain cautious during periods of extreme optimism. The most dangerous moment in any financial system is when everyone believes stability is guaranteed. Rome believed its dominance would last forever. Spain believed its gold would guarantee eternal wealth. Britain believed its global influence was permanent. History demonstrated otherwise. The critical question is not whether cycles repeat. History makes it clear that they always do. The real question is whether we recognize where we stand within the cycle before decline becomes obvious. Because by the time financial collapse becomes visible to the public, the underlying damage has usually been developing for decades. History does not repeat itself in identical form, but it consistently follows recognizable patterns. And those who study those patterns are rarely surprised by the future. This is chrono wealth, history, science, money, patterns that shape the future.